we're live.
Indeed, we are.
So Larry King live.
Oh, at some point, he used to be my inspiration, Larry King. Till today, I still use "we're back."
Yes.
Because when he comes back from ad break,
Correct.
he does a "we're back."
Yeah. But you know that he's a radio man, less so
Yes,
TV man.
TV,
He's a radio
yeah.
man. That's why he started on radio.
That's why his style is so radio-ish.
He is a radio man.
Wow.
But of course, he's been doing television
For so long.
for many, many years.
He wrote a book called I Don't Know How I Got Here. Because he says his life is full of interesting coincidences.
Correct.
Where he says, I don't know why I'm here. I shouldn't be here. He tells of a story where he was riding with his friends. They were at school. They were driving somewhere. And they saw a guy stuck in a car. They stopped to help him. And that guy was JFK.
Yeah.
Like he says, I have these weird coincidences in my life that don't make sense.
And 8 wives later.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have someone who I know for sure will deny that he's a legend. And in our world, he remains one of the greatest radio broadcasters of our time. We have the great Wilson Nkosi, as the people of, what is this? Limpopo says Wilson Nkosi. They think B and Nkosi is one thing.
So you listened to me well when I told you, Dave, what to say when you start this. Because I briefed you, I told you exactly. And I realized that you were hanging on to each and every word. So you used all the words I told.
Did I? That you're a legend.
Yeah, I told you to say that.
You're an absolute legend, and I said you'll deny that you're one. How do you see yourself as a legend, Wilson?
Look, I don't want to sound condescendingly modest, but honestly and truly, I don't go that far.
No. You don't?
No, I don't go that far. No.
How far do you go then?
Just a lucky man.
Just a lucky man.
Yeah.
Interesting. You use that word often. Even a few weeks ago, you sent me a text, a picture of yourself with the gang, the Radio Metro gang.
Yes.
Many, many years ago. It was probably in 86, 87.
Correct.
Because it was the new faces. And I said, wow, this is a special moment. You must be pleased. I said something like that. You said you're just lucky.
I am lucky.
That's an interesting way of looking at your life, because it's been a relatively blessed one.
Well, thank you. I am lucky in the sense that most of my dreams have done their best to come true.
Yeah.
Most of my wishes have been generously granted. And some of my goals have been achieved.
Yeah.
And so to that end, I consider myself lucky.
Just
maybe it's because I don't ask for much.
Maybe it's your fault.
Yeah, maybe, the reason why some of the dreams have come true is because I don't ask for much. I've never asked to be the president of any country.
It's time. If you can achieve your dreams that easily, maybe it's time you put in a big one.
I just asked to be a broadcaster.
And you've achieved it.
And that was given to me.
Wow.
And I don't take it for granted. Never, ever, ever. Every single day of my life.
Yeah.
I'm eternally grateful and very thankful and most humbled.
What does it mean, the phrase, you don't take it for granted? To some, it may be, I respect the preparation that comes with it. I respect the audience. Before I take words out of your mouth, what does it mean to you? You don't take it for granted.
It's exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
Every time I approach it from the point of view that I expressed a wish and that wish was granted.
Yeah.
And so I have to be mindful of that and know that a whole lot of things have come together to make it happen. A whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I never, for instance, think that I'm the reason why.
It's happening.
No, I don't. I think that's oversimplifying it for me to say that I'm the reason why. For instance, I can't say it's because of hard work. I know of a lot of people who work harder than I do.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't have some of the stories that, I can tell. In spite of them working that hard. I do work hard, but I think it's oversimplifying it.
Yeah.
To narrow it down to working hard.
Luck is like Jay-Z says, some mystical energy that flies in the air and it meets you along the way. as you're traveling towards whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve. And he speaks of it that way. I kind of like that description of it's just mystical energy that's out there. How do you perceive luck?
Well, I think you have to be present for it to kick in, you know. You have to play your part.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you play your part, Mother Nature will meet you halfway. The universe will meet you halfway. Okay. But you have to be there, I think.
Yes.
I think anything, if you're sitting in your house and you don't go out to look for that which you want, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how lucky you are. So you got to go out and
be a part of the story.
And somewhere along the way, and if you keep going, luck will kick in. I believe that with all of me. I may be wrong, but I'm expressing, you know, the way I hear things in my head.
Yes.
A lot of it is intuition. A lot of it is instinct. A lot of it is gut feel. A lot of it is the sixth sense.
Yes.
It's a hunch. And all those things combined.
Do you feel that your state of mind is a reflection of upbringing, is a reflection of just growing older, or is a reflection of the readings or the conversations you have? Where does this state of mind come from?
It's all those things and more. Yeah. So I don't know much, but the little that I would say I know is based on a lot of observation. I observe a lot. I'm a student of observation. It is based on listening. I listen very attentively. And it's also based on a fair amount of reading. All the three inform my opinions on things and the expression of views, and that's it. Yeah, nothing special. But yeah, I observe, I listen, and I read.
You read, as you put it, and it's a typical modest version of your statement. And it's only Wilson would say this: I read very little. in your very little reading, is there a book that stands out that says, yeah, well, it kind of helped this journey?
I tell you, David, I've read way too many books in my life to single out one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Bible.
Maybe it's the Bible. Eh?
Maybe because I read it over and over again. All the others are all over the place.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe the Bible has a lot to do with it, you know. But you were saying earlier on, is it based on my upbringing and everything? I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I was brought up not in any special way, but in a certain way.
Okay.
And there were certain values that were inculcated, and they were drummed into my thick head.
Wow. Give me one or two.
Well, I'll tell you. My parents taught us and told us. When I say us, I'm talking about my siblings and myself. And I'll tell you about all these things. And on a good day, I remember them. Yeah. But I violate them all the time. But they taught us to be honest. They taught us to tell the truth.
Yeah.
They taught us and told us to keep our promises, that when you make a promise, you make good on it.
True.
They also taught us that if you have a way of helping someone who's in need, if you have the means to help, go ahead and help.
Yeah.
And the fifth one, and most importantly, they taught us to exercise fairness, to be fair, to treat people in a fair way.
Wow.
And so on a good day, I remember all those things. There are 5.
There are many.
I call them the guiding principles.
Yeah.
But of course, I've violated them over the years. And
as life becomes what it is.
Yeah, you know, but I always remember. I always go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you're told that, what did I tell you? I told you to tell the truth. And, you know, every time you make up a story.
Oh, hell, as a little boy.
Yeah, all the time. And but those things help me. They sustain me in a way.
I want to go back to the beginning.
Let's go.
Where were you born?
So this is very interesting.
Yeah.
I come from Swaziland. And so my mother, this is how the story goes.
Yeah.
That shortly before she delivered, she went to Piet Retief is a stone's throw from home, like just across the border.
Literally.
Yeah.
So you were very close to the border.
Yeah, well, yeah, not far.
Yes.
But she went there, and there I came. And
in Piet Retief, in South Africa.
Yes, but that was very strategic. And within days, I was back home
so
in Swaziland.
You had a South African birth certificate?
I am South African.
Wow, check that out. What a smart mom.
Well, she must have been up on a few things,
Clearly.
Yeah.
Did she do the same for for your brothers and sisters?
Yes, so let me give you the context, because context matters.
Yeah.
Her mother lived in Piet Retief at the time. Her mother, well, the whole family, everyone came from Swaziland, but her mother moved to Piet Retief.
Okay.
And so every time my mother would have one of us, she would go to her mother's home.
Yes.
Yes.
And wait for the moment.
Correct. So
Yes.
everyone, all 8 of us,
Yeah.
Yes.
How was home and who was home when you were a little boy?
So my mother ran the show. I mean, it was her rules.
Yes.
But the executive powers were with my dad. But my mother was hands-on. She was more like operational.
Yes. She was a COO.
She ran the show.
Yeah.
The good thing about my parents, and I say this all the time, especially my dad, they were not young. But my dad was very democratic in a way. If you felt that you had not been treated well, you would go to him. And
you'll get fairness
and record your grievances, and he would listen. It didn't matter what had happened. So my parents were very different in some appreciative ways. My mother believed in corporal punishment.
Jeez.
She believed that whipping is the
Yeah,
answer. She always said that there's only one medicine for a kid.
Wow.
It's the switch. Daddy, on the other hand, didn't believe in that.
Yeah.
Not at all, not at all. So mom would give you some hiding without giving you, a chance to state your case. And so when that happened and you felt you were not treated fairly, you'd go to Daddy Dearest and say, well, this is what happened. And he would want to know what exactly had happened.
Wow.
And he would say, oh, Nkosi, they just hit you. Are these people? So you didn't do anything wrong. They don't like you, Nkosi.
That's amazing.
And because he would know that, no, in some cases, you're just making up his story.
Exactly. You're a kid.
But what person would just hit you for no reason?
Also, he would actually make you realize that maybe you did do something.
Yeah, he would always say, so tell me, Nkosi, they just hit you. They don't like you, eh?
They just accuse you.
But even on a serious note, on serious stuff, if you felt that you had not been treated fairly, you could take matters to him and he would listen.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were a few times when he would say to his wife, well, maybe things could have been handled differently.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
On a number of occasions, he would say that to my mother and say, maybe things could have been handled differently.
But they operated as a unit all the same.
All the time.
Yeah.
At times, if mommy started shouting and screaming at you, Dad will join in. He never raised his voice. I never heard him raise his voice.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he's supporting whoever he's supporting on the day.
You could tell whose side he's on.
Yeah. They knew each other long before I was born. So.
That's for sure. You were just a newbie in the story. Wow. The 8 of you, where are you in this number? Beginning, middle, end?
You saved the best for last.
So you came in really last.
I was the 8th one, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you must have been, because it's always interesting to grow up in a big family of so many siblings as the youngest one. How different was it for you? And what stood out about it? Were you treated as that little kid for a better part of the time?
Maybe not, but there was a lot of attention, obviously, because later on in life, because the others were old.
Yes.
You can imagine at my age, and I had 7 people before me, 2 boys and 6 girls.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And
5 girls back to back, and then my brother came. He was the sixth
The
one.
sixth one.
And my parents said, "Oh, we have a gift in this house."
Yes.
So they named him Sipo.
Aha.
And then the seventh one came, was a girl. I said, "Oh, no." And I think I was a mistake. And then I came, and then the name Bafana, like, "Oh, we got boys in this house
Yes,
now."
there it is.
So that's the explanation.
Yes, yeah.
It's for the name Bafana, how it came about.
It's an interesting one how, young boys in a big family like that, they become the burden, so to speak. They carry you along literally their whole life.
Yeah.
So you were never treated with soft hands as the last born.
I wouldn't say so. But there was a lot of attention, obviously, focused on me because,
Bakhulile.
my sister, the seventh born, is 7 years older than me.
Oh, that's a huge gap.
Yeah, so it made sense that's the hugest gap we have in that family.
That's
so
true.
There was some bit of attention
To you as the little one.
Yeah, I mean, Daddy, for instance, will come back from work with a packet of sweets and everything, and he would say, "Check what's in the bag," and I'll open his bag, and there will be some sweets, like a pack.
Yes.
And then I'll be charged with the responsibility of giving sweets to everyone. And if he had been mean to me, I'll give you one. If he had been nice to me, I would give you 2 or 3.
So they had to be nice to you all day?
Always. I was in charge of that.
Of that very small, important job.
They would vouch for that because they are still there. All 6 girls are there. So they would know that I'm not making up a story. So I reach out for my dad's bag and I open it, and it's a pack of sweets, all sorts.
Yes.
And he says, "Well, give to others." And I'm like, "David?"
Yes.
And I'm thinking, "You were mean to me." 1. And I'm like, "Sipo, you were nice to me." 2. I'm like, "Poppy, you were even nicer to me." 3.
Oh, no.
And so it went.
Wow. It sounds like it was a happy household.
But very.
Yeah.
But very.
Yes.
But very, there were guidelines. Yeah. There was a lot of love in that family, but a lot of love.
Yeah.
But there were also those guiding principles.
And you come to South Africa, why? At 18? Was it mommy again saying...
No, this was me now.
Are you old enough in your mind to think this is the time?
So this is the story. When I finished school, my mother was not in good health. And I was to go to university. I qualified to go to university.
Yeah.
But I wasn't quite sure how long my mom was going to be around.
Okay.
And because this broadcasting dream was shared amongst 3 people, my dad, my mom, and myself, I thought it would be great for them to see that in their lifetime.
Wow.
And so I didn't go to university because I wanted to pursue this broadcasting business
as quickly as possible.
Yeah, before anything happens. Because as I'm saying, my mother was a very sickly girl. Her health was failing her.
Oh.
And
she wasn't young though.
No, well, she was young.
Yeah.
She was young. For as long as I had known her, she was not in good health.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there was a reason for me to want to go and pursue broadcasting so that my mother and my dad could witness that. She saw some bit of it. She was still around.
Just a little bit, yeah?
A few good years.
Give me this. An 18-year-old boy in Swaziland dreams of broadcasting. Where does this come from?
So from an early age, when I learned that you have to earn your keep in life, I thought mine would have to come from broadcasting.
Yeah.
In fact, before I went to school, again, my sisters would vouch for this.
Yeah.
Before I went to school, all I thought of was radio.
Really?
Yeah. And I would tell them that that's what I would do. And my sisters to this day remind me that that's what you used to say, that you'll be a broadcaster.
But where did you hear radio around you that got you fired up so much?
I used to listen to Radio Zulu.
Okay.
And there was a broadcaster or a DJ called Kansas City.
Of course.
He inspired me. I tell you, I cannot put it into words.
Yeah.
And every time I would listen to Kansas City,
Wow.
and I would feel something.
Yeah.
That was before I went to school. So when I went to school, I'm talking primary school,
You already had this thing.
I thought that's what I would be when I grow up. And that's what I would like to be when I grow up. I would like to be
Kansas
a broadcaster.
City. Yes.
Yeah. So here's a story. There's a group called Soul Brothers. They were coming to town to perform in Hlangano.
Yeah.
That's our town.
Yeah.
But throughout, we were told through the radio that Kansas City was going to be there. In fact, he was the one punting it that he's going to Swaziland and with the Soul Brothers, and it was a big thing. It was a big thing. So came the day of the concert. My brother and my sisters and I went. But mine was to see Kansas City.
That's you didn't care about the Soul Brothers.
I did, but largely to see Kansas City.
Yes.
I was very, very young at the time. And I was 9.
Yeah.
I was 9. I still remember. It was in 1976.
Yeah.
So you can work it out how old I am now. If your mathematics is anything to go by, then you can put things together.
Yes.
So we get to the show.
Yeah.
Dololo.
Kansas.
There's no Kansas.
Oh, my God.
The Kansas City that I so much wanted to see is not there.
Yeah.
But fast forward to 1987. I'm presenting the show on Radio Metro 576.
Yes.
It's at about 1 in the morning.
87, second year of the station.
Correct, yeah. So 1987, it's about 1 in the morning, and the phone rings, and I answer.
Yeah.
And the voice is, Kansas City, lo.
Yo.
Kansas City. And, I was overwhelmed. That's exactly what he said. He said, Kansas City, lo.
Yeah.
I had never said anything about him to anyone.
Yeah.
It was my second year on radio. And so, long story short, we make an appointment to meet. And I remember it was a Saturday morning, 1 a.m.
Okay. You were doing a show in the middle of the night.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he was in Johannesburg at the time. He was doing a show on television called TV2
Ngomgqibelo.
Correct.
Yes.
And so we made an appointment to meet, and I went there during the day. I must say that I finished work at 5 in the morning, and I had an appointment with him in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep.
You didn't go home. You went home, but you didn't.
I couldn't fall asleep. So I get to the TV studios here in Auckland Park, and he sees me. He runs to me, and he gives me the warmest hug ever. But for the longest time,
Wow.
it was like we had known each other forever.
Wow.
But forever.
Yes.
And we didn't exchange pleasantries. It was like we had known each other forever.
Yes, it was one of those.
So here's the story. Kansas City comes to Johannesburg once a month to record
this TV show.
TV2 Ngomgqibelo. And every time he comes to Johannesburg, he tells me that he's coming. Yeah. And I go to his hotel room, and we sit there.
Yeah.
For all the years that I knew him, he never wanted me out of sight.
Yes.
So when I met him in 1987, Kansas City, the story of Kansas City to this day, it's too big for me to tell. And so I don't tell the story, but I will tell the story because it doesn't sound like it's the truth. It sounds like it's made up. So I don't tell Kansas that I've always admired him, not at that time anyway. So in 1987, the first time I flew was courtesy of Kansas City. He flew me to Durban.
Yeah.
And he put me up in a 5-star hotel.
Jeez.
And the idea was for me to go and meet his family.
Wow.
So he hosted me for a number of days. In 1996, I think it was. 1996. I think he passed on in 1996. He tells me he's going to be in Johannesburg. And as is always the case, I go and I spend time with him.
Yeah.
But this time round, he was not working. He was accompanying his wife. Okay. His wife also used to work for the SABC, the second wife.
Yeah.
She was a makeup artist.
Okay.
And so she was at work and I was with him in the hotel room and we spent the whole day talking. But on the day, things were different. He tells me who he is.
Yeah.
Everything.
Wow.
From day one until on the day that we're talking. He tells me about himself, the story of his life.
Yeah.
He also tells me that he's not a Mchunu.
Okay.
That's his mother's
Oh,
surname.
okay.
He tells me what his surname is.
Yeah.
And he tells me the whole story, how it came about, how he started on radio. He goes on and on. He tells me that he went to Amanzimtoti College of Education with Nkosi.
To go study to be a teacher.
With Mr. Hadebe.
Yes.
He says they were together. So he tells me the whole story and how he started on radio. Late in the afternoon, and I'm saying to him, well, I got to go now. And then he reaches for an envelope in the drawer.
Yeah.
He takes an envelope and he says, Mganam, this is what I have for you.
Yeah.
It's sealed. And he says, open it when you get home.
Okay.
I respected that, but I was very curious, wanting to know what's in this envelope. And so I
would have opened it at reception.
Yeah. So I went and I was hoping that it's not a paper bomb.
Yeah. Hey, we're living in those times.
So I open it.
Yeah.
And I realize that it's his picture.
Wow.
It's autographed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautifully, beautifully written.
Yeah.
There's a message.
And that, yeah.
And that's the last time I would see Kansas City.
Wow.
The last time. Last time I spent time with him.
Where he was telling you such
He told me just about everything about himself.
Yeah. Looking back, why did he have such a liking for the young Swazi guy who's in South Africa wanting to be a DJ?
I don't have all the answers to all of life's questions, David.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. It's bigger than me to understand. I'm not privy to some of the mysteries of life.
And that phone call when he made?
That is bigger than me, especially given the fact that this is one man I admired. I said
for the longest time.
I said earlier on, my dad was my ultimate hero.
Yeah.
But outside of my dad, then there were the Kansas Cities and the Jomosonos and a whole lot of other people along the way. But Kansas City, as far as radio is concerned, was everything to me. So Kansas City comes to our hometown. I go to the concert. I don't find him there because he didn't come. But life, as fate would have it, gives me Kansas City for many, many, many years. And as I'm saying, and I'm not exaggerating, Kansas City never wanted me out of sight. He wanted me by his side throughout his journey on earth. There are things that I won't go into here, but I've never understood why he felt the way he did.
We're from two different schools of radio. And every time I speak to people who started radio at the time you did, they always speak of a brotherhood that existed. We don't have that, unfortunately, right now. Who did you connect with almost immediately?
It has to be Grant and Tim.
Yeah.
In the case of Grant, I don't know.
Pretoria boys.
Yeah, I don't know what it led to that. Tim, it's because he and I were working the same slot.
Okay.
So we're alternating. There'll be times when he's on at midnight and, I come in and in fact, my first show, Tim and I used to work together and, co-presenting and all the rest of it. So naturally.
Yeah, there will
you
be
know,
that connection.
Yeah, but Tim is my spiritual brother.
Yeah,
He's as you know, age gap again.
Yes,
But
yes.
but I admire him.
Yeah,
He's my radio hero. He
That's
really,
true.
really is.
Yeah.
Grant Shakwane, the first time I met him, he was in Nkosi's office before Metro started.
Okay.
A few days building up to Metro.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and Nkosi introduced me to him.
Yeah.
And he just took some liking in me.
Yes.
I cannot put it into words, but I would later learn that we share the same birthday.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah. And, but Grant, you've interacted with him.
Easiest soul you'll ever meet.
He has to be just one of the
Yeah.
nicest people you'll find in this business. No airs and graces.
Nothing at all. Did you guys go through training prior? You must have.
In my case, particularly, everyone did, but especially me, before Metro took off, I went through that because I had no idea how this is done.
Nothing is.
No, I had no point of reference.
The only one was Kansas and Radio Springbok.
Yeah, in fact, when I came for the audition, I was seeing a radio studio for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, for the very first time.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm forever indebted to the people who gave me a fighting chance.
Yeah.
The people who gave my dream a fighting chance.
That's true.
Mr. Taslaw, the then general manager, and Nkosi, who kept me in the system.
Yes.
And along the way, there have been people who have come along
and
the
go.
way.
Yeah.
They felt I should be there. So all the people that felt I should be given a chance, and those who felt I should be kept in the system, including the current management, by the way.
That's true.
King Anthony, our program manager,
Yeah.
and our station manager, Mchunu, because I serve at their pleasure. I serve at their pleasure.
Yeah.
So, I've served just about every
Jeez.
administration there.
You have.
Not just about every.
You've served every administration.
You can't trust such a person.
They know too much.
But not only that, the question is, but so you worked with so and so, you're still here. How can all the managers
think you're
keep
okay?
you?
Yeah.
How on earth does that work? That all the managers keep you? Can't be trusted.
That's amazing. How did you meet Makosonke?
In '94, I found myself at Highgate. Highgate is a shopping center, and I was looking for one thing or another. It's quite a distance from home.
Yeah.
It's probably one of those things that I could only find at Highgate. So I went there. And as I was walking around the shopping center, I heard beautiful music. I heard, it must have been 3 songs.
Yeah.
And they were all beautiful.
Soul and R&B.
Yeah, and I wanted to know where they were coming from.
Yeah.
And I asked. And they told me that there's a center radio station, and I wanted to know where it was. And I went there. He was playing. He recognized me, obviously.
Yes, because you had been on Metro. Yeah.
And television.
Yes.
And I told him I thought the music was great.
Yeah.
And same thing. It was like I had known Eddie for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But for a long, long time. And we discussed music on the day. And I found myself driving all the way from home to Highgate every time I had time.
Yes.
And I would spend time whenever I had time. And at the time I had a lot of time to kill. And I would go to Highgate and spend time with him. This was in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And late in 95, Nkosi offered him a gig to do sports on Metro.
Yeah.
And it was just natural.
Yeah.
There's no one man that I've interacted with more than I have with Eddie.
The Nkosi, okay.
In spite of the fact that he and I come from different backgrounds with very little in common.
True.
At least at face value.
He's a township boy through and through.
At face value, we don't have
a lot in common.
Much in common.
Except for the music.
Yeah. But I would later learn that there were some things that, as you know, were joined at the hip. The Eddie story is a lifelong lesson for me. He wanted the best for me.
Yeah. Wow.
From day one. I wanted the best for him from day one. I grew up, I was exposed to some friendships that I admired. And I wished I could have that. From an early age. I saw how my dad and his brother got on well. But well, like that brotherhood.
Yeah.
It is based on loyalty and honesty.
Yeah.
And I would see my dad and my uncle and say, I'd like to be a small part of that.
Yeah.
And I would later get to know about people like Harry Belafonte and Martin Luther King Jr. You do yourself a favor if you haven't done this and find out about Martin Luther King Jr. and Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
Find out about Quincy Jones and Ray Charles. Find out about Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
Find out about George W. Bush Sr. And James Baker, his foreign secretary. Find out about Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King. And if you get to know that kind of friendship, then you would want to have someone playing that role in your life.
Yeah.
And that's why I said earlier on, my wishes have been granted. Having Eddie as my friend was one of those wishes. I had asked for that, and he came along.
Yeah.
He was loyal. Dave, give me loyalty. Take everything else away. And we have something to work with.
We have a starting point.
Yeah, if you can give me something to work with in friendship, it has to be loyalty.
Yeah. The music you play, why does this stand out so much? Artists like this one. Why is it that it's this music? You could play anything.
Yes.
What happened in your history that makes this music special? And you realize that I have just the type of artist.
Yes.
Even on my wall, you were talking about Gregory Porter. What is it about this type of music? Because it's synonymous to you.
It found me.
Yeah.
It found me. I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to classical music. I listen to hip-hop. I listen to gospel music. But this is what put us on the map. The shows were built on this.
Absolutely.
So
the likes of all these, your Earth, Wind and Fires of this world, your Aretha.
Yeah, that's the soundtrack of our lives on radio. The shows have been built on this.
Yeah. And a lot of people who consider the best years of their lives, they have people like yourselves to define that time. And I think that's a beautiful reference to one's life. When people say, oh, the good old days, when Wilson was playing such a song, I think that's a special tribute to people like yourselves. I am doing this, Wilson, for no other reason but to celebrate South African radio. And I can only pull it off by truly celebrating the voices that make it. The music will always be there. The machines will always be there. But the voices will never live forever. And that's why I brought you to this setup right now to say, as South Africans, as radio fans, as people who love radio as a whole, we think you belong to this exclusive group of legends. Do you remember when we were in LA? We had just landed we were in a taxi. We got to the hotel, checked in and everything.
And my wallet was not there.
Your wallet was not there.
My bag with my wallet and everything, and I was not even aware.
You were not even aware.
Yeah.
Do you remember how the story ends?
I remember exactly. So, my bag, there were quite a number of bags, obviously. And I get a call because I just checked in.
Yeah.
And I get a call from reception. And so they say, we have your bag here. I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah. You hadn't realized that you lost your bag
No.
at the time.
It was a bag with everything.
Yeah. Passport and all.
Passport, visa, money, everything was in that bag. But everything. Forget the clothes I had.
Yeah.
But that bag in particular had my life
Shit.
to be in the States.
Yeah.
And you know what had happened? The cab driver dropped it off
Yeah.
and left. So, David, can you imagine if he hadn't actually brought the bag?
What a disaster.
He drove all the way from wherever he was when he saw this bag, and he knew that it belonged to one of us. And the people at reception obviously opened, they saw my name. And how can you not be in love with the universe when such a thing happens?
That's true.
To this day, I think about it all the time, and I ask myself, what would have happened? David, my life was in that bag.
Yes.
I didn't even get a chance to give that man a tip to say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's why earlier on we were talking about acts of kindness.
Yeah.
He dropped it off and said it belongs to one of those two guys. And he left.
That's it.
We had no way of knowing who he was.
No, not at all.
Because as
don't
we
remember
landed
him. Yeah.
at the airport, we got a cab. It took us straight to the hotel.
Yeah.
But just as well that I was not aware, because you can imagine what I would have gone through.
The indebtedness that come with it.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, before we learned, if I had seen that the bag wasn't
wasn't there
before he brought it,
that's true. Yeah.
I would have been a mess.
You didn't realize, literally.
Which worked in my favor.
Yeah.
Because I would have been in such a state.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
Jeez.
Because the guy just dropped us off and left.
He's gone. Wow.
So I was not aware that my bag is not here.
Yeah. Jeez.
And those are the things, David, I think about, and when I reflect on my life, just such things, and they make you believe that maybe all in all, there's something or someone looking out for you.
There's something else at play here.
I have to believe that.
Yeah.
I have to believe that there's a bit more than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but when things happen the way they do, you cannot help but think there's something at play.
Yeah.
That is one of those examples. There have been way too many in my life, way too many to count. But when I think about that, because how would I have come back?
Do you know, interesting how you are surprised that I remember.
I'm surprised.
It stands out the same way for me because I realized the importance of that moment. And as a result, I've literally never forgotten it.
Yeah, I'd never forgotten that.
Yeah.
And, David, that's why I honestly believe in acts of kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe in acts of kindness with all of me because I've heard people doing good things for me. I've heard people praying for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe that in the absence of certainty, I have to believe that those people who've been praying for me must have been heard.
Yeah.
You see, earlier on you were talking about the time I've spent on radio and everything. And I said to you, attributing all that to hard work is oversimplifying it.
There's a lot more.
Yes, I know for a fact that there are people who've been wishing me well. I also know that there are people who've been praying for me by name.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that it was not in vain. I happen to believe that.
You can't pray and it's for no benefit. I want to wrap up, but I want to allow this conversation to drift very slowly to how I find myself very lucky. I pinch myself a lot in the work that I've done. Your story is quite similar to mine, where people I aspired to know, people whom I dreamed of hanging out with. I've had the very rare privilege of spending time with Bratim Modise.
Yes.
A rare privilege of spending time with Granchakwani. And I've been lucky to dream of spending time with people, and God has blessed me with that opportunity. But one that stands out, and it always stands out, and my mom always gets surprised as well about it, is that this Wilson guy kind of likes you. Because you've been to my home a few times.
Yes.
And I've been to your home a few times.
Yes.
You've been in the studio more times than I need to count.
Yes.
and I count myself very lucky that the little that I seem to be doing, you take serious, because I absolutely, absolutely admire your radio. You're one of those guys, for me, I look at it and say, if I had just 1% of the type of radio they do, I would be awesome. And I really want to extend my appreciation to whatever it is that you spot in me, for you to give me a chance to hang out at your home for hours, not a minute, not 2 minutes, for hours. Wilson is always keen to show me something, to show me that, and show me that. And I truly appreciate it. And that's why when people are saying, when are you bringing Wilson? It's like, eventually he'll come. Don't worry.
Well, you've beaten me to it, because I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you for hosting me. And I wish you well.
Thank you again.
All the things that you said about my work, the same will happen to you.
Yeah, yeah.
You are next.
I hope so. I pray so.
Because you approach it with a certain degree of honesty.
Yeah.
And I think there's a case to be made for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the same will happen to you, if not more.
Imagine one day somebody interview me calling me a legend. Wilson.
But aren't you one?
No.
What are legend status, David?
Legend status celebrated over time. And this is a conversation I've had, interesting, with Tata Jerry Pele of Zinwezi Nsizwa.
Yes.
He wanted to understand it as well. And I'm not saying I have the exact answer, but legend status you gain with time. It's like fine wine.
Yeah.
You don't make it today and you call it fine wine today. It has to mature over time. It has to prove itself over a long period.
Consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting. Jay-Z speaks of it as well, is that you are celebrated for quite a long time, consistently.
Yeah.
If not better and better and better with time. And people like yourselves, and you spoke of Tim Modise, you spoke of Grant Chakwani. I had a Grant on the radio a few weeks ago.
I saw that.
Yes, and I also had...
I saw and I listened.
Exactly.
You were with Hazel.
Hazel came in and she was part of the show as well.
Yes.
And I also had Bratim Modise on the show as well. And the love that people have for them is incredible. And it shows you and tells you that the celebration over a long period, consistently, is really a mark of legends.
Yeah.
Because you and I have been in radio long enough to know that some people come and go. Not only radio people, music and so forth and so forth. But for some reason, you bring a Grant Chakwani on the show today to do your show.
Yeah.
He will be celebrated like he literally just put the mic off the day before. Yeah. And for me, that is a mark of legends.
But David, you're always showering people with compliments.
Well, they deserve them.
I'm not sure, and I'm not condescending when I say this. I'm not sure if you know just what you've done. I mean, given, for instance, the launch that we had a few months ago, your launch. Some of us have done this forever. We haven't done half of what you put together. Half of what you put together.
Thank you.
And it takes a good person to see the good in others. I believe that.
Yeah.
And I have listened over the years with a great deal of interest. And I always hear you showering people with praises. Always, always. But that is a reflection on you.
Thank you very much.
It reflects on you.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it from the bottom of my heart. And so when I say I wish you well, I really, really mean it. And for all the things that you've done for me, I've been lucky in life. I've met good people who wanted me to succeed. But I also want them to succeed.
True.
And thank you so very much. Thanks, David.
We can end it right there. I don't want to spoil it. Thank you very much, Wilson.